Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, a picture of Theresa May has been taken down at the University of Oxford after being plastered by critical messages. The portrait at the university's geography department, of which the Prime Minister is an alumnus, was part of a series celebrating the success of women who'd studied there. But after it was defaced by lots of protesting messages relating to immigration and the Windrush scandal, it was removed. The University of Oxford says it wasn't taken down to make any political point and will be going back up in due course. But as the row unfolded, a group of academics at the university published a letter voicing concern at Theresa May's inclusion on the wall. They said so much of what Ms May embodies politically is antithetical to what geography, as a discipline which aims to produce citizens of the world, should and does stand for. It goes on to say Ms May has a record of alienating marginalised communities and deepening austerity, of encouraging deportations and persisting in pursuing the hostile environment project, and of refusing repeatedly to meaningfully engage with the effects of Brexit. Here in the studio with me is the university's Minister Sam Gyimah. Sam, in response, the university has said that the poster was taken down because it was being defaced and it's going to go back up. It wasn't taken down because of political pressure.
And quite rightly too. I think it's ridiculous that it should have been taken down in the first place. And we've seen the letter that was circulating by the student campaign groups, and they say explicitly that they'd been successful in their campaign when the poster was taken down. Now, you can disagree with Theresa May, you can disagree with any politician for any reason, but if the Prime Minister of this country cannot have a portrait on the wall there, then who else can? Right,
but that's not the reason it was taken down, Sam Gyimah, according to the university. I mean, let's have a look at your tweet. You say, utterly ridiculous story from Oxford, where now even portraits are being no-platformed. Politics aside, Theresa May is only our second female Prime Minister and an inspiration to many. The faculty should get a grip and put the portrait back in a more prominent place. I'll be happy to unveil it. Do you think you were a little bit keen, a bit quick to jump on the outrage bus by accusing the university of no-platforming a poster when, in fact, they just took it down because it had been defaced and it's going back up?
Not at all. I've been visiting a number of universities since I was appointed. I've got this Simon campus there, and I've become quite concerned about the issue of free speech on campus. One university I was due to visit. Before the visit, I had a conversation with them. They had to look at security. They had to target the invitations, and I found myself, as a universities minister, censoring, just in case I said something that was unpopular, that will not be accepted on campus. There's another university I am visiting soon, and they said, before you start, we've got to read our safe space policy before you start your speech. Now, all well-intentioned, but it's not just my personal experience. The Harriet Harman's committee in the House of Commons has also identified free speech on campus, and I think there is an issue here.
Right, but that may be so, but this isn't about free speech, is it? This particular issue. I mean, you've put it into the narrative that you have just articulated, that all universities are being overrun by anti-Tory snowflakes, which is what you seem to be saying.
I haven't suggested that at all.
Well, that is the implication, and the university has explained that the truth in this case was much more mundane.
No, I haven't said that at all. What this is they're a group of students, and we've also now got academics, who disagree with Theresa May's political views. And the reason why they think the poster should not be up, the portrait should not be up, is because they disagree with the political views. Now, I think when you get to a point where you have one rule for views that you agree with and another rule for views you do not agree with, then that comes close to censorship.
Right. What do you think? Because I think there are two issues here. I mean, the university says this wasn't about free speech or no platforming. Sam Gyimah, and there is a campaign that doesn't want to see that portrait go back up. Do you have any sympathy with the academics?
If I was in the geography department in Oxford, which is a fine department, and I used to aspire to be a geographer when I was doing A-level, I would be very proud to have the Prime Minister's picture up. She's a great advertisement for grammar school girls, striving hard, doing well in public life. And whatever the party, she's a Prime Minister in an open society which has regular votes. And to criticise or to even question her legitimacy as a Prime Minister, which is, some would say, the implication of this, I think is very silly. I don't want to trivialise this, but when you think about it, if you go for this kind of purity of approach, how many portraits can you dare put up on your staircase? I think it comes down to Mother Teresa of Calcutta.
Right. I mean, in terms of no platforming, are you experiencing in any way, when you no doubt go to universities or talk at universities, that there is this move to no platform people that groups of students don't agree
I've
with?
never experienced it myself because I only go to talk about such nerdy things nobody's interested. I mean, they're almost entirely
that's one way of protecting yourself from being no platform.
One of the things I'm concerned about is a political monoculture. Where
do you think that's really happening, though, Sam?
Where there are certain views that are deemed unpopular, unacceptable, unfashionable, and people who represent those views are treated differently on campus, and the rules around free speech apply to them differently, whether it's their portrait, whether it's a statue, or whether it's actually a straightforward discussion. That, I think, is, we want for our universities to work as free exchange of ideas. You do need diversity of thought.
But all right, well, in that diversity of thought, isn't it correct that academics, like the 21 that have signed this letter from the School of Geography, who felt uneasy about Theresa May's portrait being up in the department or at the university, because they don't agree with her on various views, what's wrong with actually protesting?
You can definitely protest. Active protest, active debate.
Well, that's all this is.
Good. But when protesters are able to shut down views they disagree with or stop the portrait of a prime minister going up, that comes very close to...
But it's going to go back up, so they haven't stopped it, have they, Sam Jima?
Well, it better go up quickly. And it shouldn't just be a portrait, it should be a sculpture for Theresa May. I think they've said it's going to go up. I want to see it go up quickly.
Right, and you want to unveil it?
I'll be happy to.
Right, I mean, is it usual to have portraits of prime ministers up in departments in universities like this, where there is a sort of political allegiance question?
My college in Cambridge had the portrait of Palmerston up, I'm sure, in the dining hall, because he was one of ours. And if you go to Christ Church, Oxford, occasionally I have done in the past, the whole wall is littered with them. To be honest, I think this, in the wider scale of things, in the agonies the world is experiencing and the problems of our country, this is absolute Tom Tiddlers.
Yeah, well, you may think that. I mean, obviously there are people at the university who feel very differently, and actually what they've cited here is, I don't really wish to celebrate a hostile environment for immigrants, if I'm honest. This is another academic at the university, Andrew Dwyer. Now, that was a big issue for a lot of people, and they don't feel that that's synonymous with being up in an academic department. What do you say to that?
You can disagree with the politician's views, but she is the Prime Minister of this country, and as Peter said, in an open society. And by all means, air your views on disagreement, but that should by no means extend. For example, there's one portrait, there's a portrait of Doreen Massey, who was an advisor to the Chavez government in Venezuela, who then argued against the people who were protesting against Maduro. Her portrait is fine, but the Prime Minister of this country is not fine. I think that is what I have a problem with, that you can't have one rule for people who, Marxists who you agree with, but not someone else.
Sam Jima, thank you for coming in. We were hoping to speak to someone who was unhappy about the portrait being up, but unfortunately she didn't make it.